So last week we talked about these worldview questions, and in a sense, these are going to be questions not totally like this, but related to this. So we're going to just keep expanding and exploring throughout the year. So we're not going to review that right now. That's really a review from last week. So this week, what I want to begin to introduce is the concept and the foundation for the Christian worldview, because that's what we're up to here as a church. And so I just want us to maybe spend a couple of weeks on questions about foundational beliefs on what it means to be a Christian. And so you're going to find out, I'm going to use this word orthodox, and I don't want you to be confused. So I want to clarify what I mean when I use this word. And notice how it has a small o. It's not a large O, right? So when I use the word orthodox, and I don't qualify it, with like Eastern Orthodox or Coptic Orthodox or something. I'm talking about Orthodox with a small o, and that just means universal. Okay, so I want you to think of that as another synonym for the word universal. And what I want us to think about is that the Orthodox Christian faith, or the universal Christian faith, what are those beliefs that are believed by all people who are real Christians? What is that foundation? What does it really mean to be a Christian? And so it's what I'm going to call belief boundaries. Okay, how many of you know that, have you ever heard the saying, good fences make good neighbors? Right? Because when you have good fences, then your neighbor's dog isn't running in your yard, right? Making holes and doing its business. Good fences make for good neighbors, right? And so when we have good fences or good boundaries, and we know what does it mean to be a Christian, and when have we stepped over that fence? When have we just left the boundaries of Christianity? So we want to talk about that a little bit. And if you have Catholic friends, they might use the word dogma. So there's beliefs, there's practice, and then there's what I call stuff we think Christianity's about. This is the stuff we make up, is what I call it. And this is often what I find gets us into the most trouble, especially when someone is trying to consider the claims of Christ, and we have made stuff up and put it on top, right? And so this is what we sometimes need to stand back, and we'll do this every so often in the class. We're going to stand back and think, oh, wait a minute, I'm not sure this is actually in the Bible. This might be something I'm just making up, okay? So that does happen to everybody. So what we believe, there's this concept called creeds, and some people think creeds is like a 4-letter word, but I actually hope to, in maybe a week or two, do a little thing about creeds in the Bible. The concept of creeds is actually a very biblical concept. So when I use the word creed, I just want you to think of it as like a summary of what the Bible teaches about something. Creed is not something scary. I know people who are former Catholics, they get a little bit about creeds, but creeds are our friends. They help us kind of summarize very complex ideas in just a few words. And for thousands of years, Christians have recited creeds and memorized creeds because they provide a nice little succinct summary of very complicated ideas. And so creeds aren't anything to be feared necessarily. Now, can they be abused? Yes, but so can almost anything else. So you want to use them carefully, and we'll talk about that. So we're going to focus in this class today on looking at what's called the Nicene Constantinopolitan Creed. That's a very long term. This was a meeting of people who got together and were discussing controversial beliefs in the church at the time. And here's how this worked. How many of you have ever read in the book of Acts that there was a controversy, and the question was, do Gentiles need to become Jews in order to become Christians, right? That was the controversy. And so they got all the heads of the church together in Jerusalem, and what do? They kind of have a little debate. They hear some people present their sides. They come up with a conclusion. They write it out in a letter, and they send it out to the churches, okay? So this is how things were decided in the early church. A controversy would come up. Leaders in the church would meet about it, discuss it, and then they would make some summary statements about what they decided. Okay? And so that's what like the Nicene Creed is, and this is the Nicene Constantinopolitan Creed. So this is the creed that is universally affirmed by Catholics, Protestants, and Eastern Orthodox. And so that's why I chose this one as the historical creed that will be the foundation for this class. Now, we're going to look at some other creeds in a second here, but this is the one that all three branches of Christianity affirm. And it's written out right there. So when you think about what does it mean to be a Christian, this is one way of thinking about it, is that it means affirming these beliefs. So the Orthodox, this is what I'm using small o. I want you to imagine that the beliefs of what it means with the proper boundaries, proper fences is all very idealistic, is in this circle of Orthodox Christianity, okay? And then we have Orthodox with a large O, or the Eastern Orthodox. These might be my friends down the street at St. John's or over down at St. Nectarios, the Greek Orthodox or whatever. And so we might say, well, there's some things that they affirm this creed, but then maybe they've got some stuff that is sort of outside of the bounds. And we could debate what that is. That's not the purpose of this conversation. And we might say, yeah, and here's our Catholic friends. They have some things that are also shared with the Orthodox. You know, the doctrine of the Trinity, the doctrine of the Incarnation, and they believe in grace and all these things. But maybe they've also got some stuff that's outside of the circle. And then here's us, Western Protestants. We've got some things that we share with these other two branches of Christianity, but then we've also got some stuff outside of the bounds of orthodoxy that some of us hang on to, stuff we make up, okay? But what I want us to focus on here is these commonalities, because these are things that I don't think we often give a lot of thought to. That there's one faith, one Lord, one baptism that unites us. And what does that mean? And meditating on that. This is a great bridge builder. Well, we also have our own creed here at Grace Church of Glendora. If you turn the sheet over on the back, you'll see it's a doctrinal statement from our website at Grace Church. This is kind of the general statement of what we believe. And this is something that is, in some sense, a recasting in modern language, much of that creed that's on the front side of the sheet. And this is what it means to our church's understanding of what it means to be a Christian. And notice how they focus everything around the word one. Now, how many of you have ever gone on the website and meditated on the doctrinal statement of our church? Yeah, you're like, is that even a thing? Is that even on there? Yeah, we got one. All right. So whenever I'm checking out a new church or a new ministry, like the first place I go is I go read their statement of faith. Because I want to really find out, what are they up to here? And is it one sentence? Or is it super detailed? Is it 4 pages? You know, does it focus on keeping what we used to call the main thing? You know? And so that's what this is. Now, there's a second doctrinal statement that we have, and I want you to just keep these because we're going to keep referring back to these throughout the year, that they give you in the All About Grace class. And this is not on the website. But when you go to the All About Grace class, you get this longer statement. That's a few pages. And this is what I call kind of more the distinctives. What does it mean to be a Baptist? You know, that's our flavor of being a Protestant, is we are in this stream of Christianity called Conservative Baptists of America, right? So when we think back to this, you know, we're focusing on what unites us, but then we have our own little flavor and variety up here of our understanding of what does it mean to be a Baptist. And it's important to understand the difference between those things that unify us and those things that set us apart as Baptists, okay? And so we'll be in this conversation throughout the year. Now, this is all just overview. I'm just touching on a lot of things right now that we'll keep developing throughout the year, okay? So I don't want you to get all freaking out, about reading these doctrinal statements. We're going to process these as we go along. But when we talk about tough questions, the place for us to begin in those conversations is, what does my church believe? And what have Christians historically believed? Okay? So this gives us the ground for knowing where we are in our answers. When people come to us with their tough questions, it's not like, look, I'm not expecting everyone in this class be a theologian and be a professional and have all the answers. Why not? Well, I do think that it's useful for Christians to have some answers and to know how to refer people to other answers where they don't have expertise. Because we all can't be experts on everything. I'm not an expert on everything. There's many questions that I just quite frankly don't know about. But I kind of have a sense of where to get some quality answers from people who have spent more time reading and reflecting on those matters than I have. And it's good to know what lane you're in, to know what your limits are, okay? But I'm not of the opinion that Christians should just be in a poverty or scarcity of knowing things. I think Christians should know some things. Then we should know some basics. And that we should also know what we don't know. Like, these are things I am really not qualified to speak into. One final point here is that the reality is people are not consistent with what they believe. Okay? So if I were to give you a pop quiz right now on the doctrine of justification, trust me, there are people in here who have a Roman Catholic view of justification. And it's because you haven't really thought about it. You don't really know what the distinctives are. And I find that most Protestants actually have a very Roman Catholic view of the doctrine of justification because they've never been educated about it. And so we're not always consistent. And that's okay. That's how we learn. That's what this class is about. It's about learning. Okay? Most people are also unaware of what they believe and why they believe it. And that's okay. The purpose of this is not to make us feel bad about our inadequacies. The purpose of all of this is to say, okay, here's where I'm at. People are asking me questions. I want to be better informed, and I want to know how to give a more informed direction to them if they ask, okay?